All right, guys. Last couple of days, you've been focusing a lot on vocab, and I know that that's a lot to soak in. So we're going to take a small little break from that today, and we're going to talk about composing and decomposing angles. And so let's go ahead and get started. It's 8-5. 8-5, and make sure your SAB is open, okay? So basically what we're talking about here is if you take any old angle that you've drawn, so let's say that this is whatever, for whatever reason, the angle that I draw, I can draw a line and make another ray coming out from there, and if I were to add up this angle measurement using a protractor and then add up this angle measurement using a protractor, it will end up being the exact same total that it would have been right there. Let me show you what that means. It says two angles can be put together to form another angle. The measure of the whole angle is the sum of the measures of the smaller angles. That means if you find this angle measurement and this angle measurement, and then you smack this one off to the side right there, they're going to equal that total. So they show you that over here. If I were to take this 75-degree one plus this 30-degree one right here, all together, 75 plus 30 is 105, which is how I would come up with my new angle measurement. So this says, what kind of angle is formed when the two angles are put together? What is its measure? So for over here for number 1, we can tell that this is a right angle because what's 45 plus 45? Well, that equals 90 degrees, and we then know that a 90-degree angle, is called a right angle, okay? And then for number 2, we've got the same thing going on here. What's 30 plus 60? Well, that's going to equal another 90 degrees, and so I know altogether that this is going to create a right angle. Take a minute to write that down. Excuse me, I got a frog in my throat this morning. So, now let's look over here for number 3 and 4. Something that you may not remember, it's been a while since we talked about those. If we were talking about a line, if a line were to go on forever, if you were to actually use a protractor and measure the angle from here to here, it's going to end up being exactly 180 degrees. So the angle measurement of a line is 180 degrees, whereas if you split that in half, this side being 90 degrees and this side being 90 degrees would equal 180, which is exactly what they showed you right here, okay? So here we have 90 plus 90 equals 180. And that we all together, we call that a straight angle. And if you'll label that, please. Straight. And then angle. And then this one wanted you to do 130 plus 50, which also equals 180 degrees, which is also called a straight angle. Okay? Talking kind of fast. Just go ahead and pause if you ever at any point need to get caught up, okay? So for number 5, it says an angle is made from two angles with measures of 80 degrees and 70 degrees. It wants you to write and solve an equation to find the measure of the whole angle. And then I'm going to take it one step a little bit further, okay? So here they're showing you that you've got 80 plus 70. 70. Which is going to be altogether 150 degrees. So now my question for you is, what kind of angle does this create? We talked a lot about angles yesterday, and even a couple of days last week as well. So if I just want to draw for you an example, if this had been 80 degrees, and then I tacked on another 70 degrees, this is a very rough drawing, by the way. Altogether, we just said that this was going to be 150 degrees. Well, what kind of angle does this one look like? Boom to boom. That to me looks like an obtuse angle. Okay, so that's important to know. We just basically created an obtuse angle. Okay, so let's look down here. This one says, use the angles shown to make other angles. So it says, which two angles would you put together to make a 75-degree angle? So you kind of just have to look around a little bit. This one's 95, so that's already out, and this one's 140, so that's already out. So what happens if I were to add these two, 35 and 40? Does that make 75? Yeah, it does. I didn't know that would work. But then if I did over here like 40 plus 50, that's going to be 90. Or if I did 35 plus 50, that would be 85. So those two are not the answer. But this one right here, if I were to add ABC and DEF, that is going to give me my 75-degree angle. So the way we write that, again, an angle symbol looks like that. So we'd call it angle ABC. And then we'd also have angle DEF. Okay, number 7 says, which two angles would you put together to make a 145-degree angle? So we've got 140 here, but there's nothing that's only 5 degrees, so that's not going to work. So we just got to use some skills here to figure this out. 95 plus 35, well, I know that 5 and 5 is going to equal 10, so this isn't going to end in a 5, so those are out. So let's try 95 and 40. 95 plus 40... ends up only giving us 135, so I'm 10 off. But look at this, this one happens to be 10 more. So 95 and 50, just to check. Indeed gives you, oops, that meant to be a plus sign. This indeed gives you a 145-degree angle altogether. So that was this one and this one, so let's label those. That's going to be angle GHJ, or JHG, doesn't matter, and angle KLM. K, L, and M. As long as, do you see here how 95 degrees is attached to the letter L and 50 degrees is attached to the letter H? You'll notice that H is in the middle and that L is in the middle, so I know I've done that correct. So for these ones, it says to write an equation to find your unknown angle measure. So we're going to do a little algebra here without even realizing that we're doing algebra by finding some unknown information. So for example, here where this says the measure of RST is 120 degrees. Well, let's see what that means. What's RST? Well, here's R, here's S, and here's T. So this tells me that this entire angle right here equals 120 degrees. Now, I know that RSV equals 75 degrees, but I don't yet know what VST means. So basically what I can do is I can figure out for this unknown angle. And basically what you're figuring out is that 75 plus your unknown angle here is going to equal 120. Well, the actual way to figure that out, though, is to subtract that 75 from 120. 10 minus 5 is 5, and then 11 minus 7 is 4. So that tells me right here that angle VST is exactly 40 degrees. Okay? So try that out for number 13. I'll walk you through it a little bit, and then I'll give you some time. It says MN to P is altogether 130 degrees. And you know that MNQ is 40 degrees. So how can I use that information to help me solve for right over here? For MNP was 130. I know that MNQ is 40. So to find QNP, I just need to do 130 and subtract that 40. So that tells me altogether that this will equal 90 degrees. So that tells me that my angle QNP is 90 degrees. Okay. So 14 and 15, those are ones that you can do on your own in a little bit. But for 16, 17, and 18, I just want to look at those for just a second. So 16 and 17 and 18, 16 starts with draw your own angle problem and share it with a partner. Go ahead and cross that one out. And then number 17 says, these are just kind of big picture things that I want you to think about. This says, when a right angle is made from two smaller angles, what must be true about those smaller angles? So let's draw an example of that. If I have a 90-degree angle here, and it tells me that it's made from two smaller angles, well, that tells me that I've got a small angle here and another small angle here. Sorry, hiccups, what's new? In order to equal 90 degrees altogether. So what that's basically telling you is that both of these angles, they have to be acute angles. Because you can't have an obtuse angle here, and you can't have one right angle, because those altogether are going to be more than 90 degrees, and this is supposed to add up to be exactly 90 degrees. So here your answer would be that they are both 90-degree angles. Okay, for number 18, it says when a straight angle is made from two smaller angles, what must be true about the smaller angles? Okay, well, think about it like this. I'm going to give you two examples. If I were to cut this one right here, right smack in the middle, I've basically just created two 90-degree angles. So that's one thing that could be true, is that both are 90-degree angles. Okay, but then let's try something else. I'm going to erase mine. I want you just to watch that. But let's say instead that I make one of them an obtuse angle. Okay, so let's say that I draw this right here, and I know that this angle right here is now obtuse. I can clearly see that. So what's this angle going to be? This angle is definitely going to be smaller than 90 degrees. And so another thing that could be true here is that you have one obtuse and one right angle. Nope. Wrong word. Bad glassy. You have one obtuse and one acute angle. Think about why. Again, if I had a straight edge and it told me that it's made up of two smaller angles, what if I had two acute angles? What if I did this and this? Is that going to equal 100, or my obtuse angle, or my straight edge? Even if I did the biggest acute angles that you can have, so basically the biggest acute angle that you can have at any point is going to be 89 degrees, which is just less than 90. Even if I had 89 and 89, that still wouldn't add up to be exactly 180 degrees of a straight edge, so that's not going to work. Okay, the last thing of your assignment today is Puzzle Penguin. I want you to go ahead and skip that, but for now I want you to come down here to your assignment page, and I want to give you some options. One option is to finish these pages. There are definitely a couple that I skipped here and there that you are welcome to go back and try to solve. I think it was like questions 8 through 10, and then you could also do, I think it was 14 and 15. So those are two options, or two parts that you could do. You could just do the homework pages, which would be great practice for you. And then I'm totally cool with IXL. I also want to remind you though, this 8-4 was probably pretty hard for you. So even though it's hard to keep practicing something that's difficult, it might be a really good use of your time. This adding and subtracting of your angles is really easy stuff. And this is the stuff that I'm more concerned with you understanding. So I would love to see you continue to practice this work if you didn't get it all done. But no matter what, as long as you practice a little more math today, we shall be good, all right? One more lesson for the week and you'll be done.